Dear Justice Alito, right now they've got me working the hormonal biorhythms of an approximately 12 to 14-year-old boy. He's kind of blonde, light skinned, blue eyes. I am requesting and advising you to resign from the Supreme Court of the United States. On in late April, I was looking at one of your case opinions. I had gone to a list of the opinions you had written and authored, and I just selected one randomly because I had no context or experience with you or your past or any of your judicial acumen. And as I was reading your opinion, I was resonating, I believe, with something akin to what your contributions to America are, and actually to the rest of the world by virtue of your public service as a member of the Supreme Court of the United States. And unlike anything else I had encountered, especially on the level of the Supreme Court of the United States, what I found in your opinion and how it registered with me, though it wasn't specifically connected to the topics that I had been considering as part of my arguments, provided me with such a substantial contribution to understanding issues connected to jurisprudence, specifically when it came to understanding and navigating considerations of what it means to pursue criminal charges for specific kinds of decision making. And approaching that from the level of the Supreme Court as opposed to it being some other kind of constitutional consideration or some sort of civil or civil rights case. It was exactly what I needed. And it was that important to me that I be able to encounter it when I did. But something happened in the course of reading your opinion, and somebody switched the bandwidth. And it was very distinctively not you anymore. It was not your resonance. It was not your intangible contributions. And it certainly wasn't your authority when it came to that specific opinion that you were the author of. They switched the currents and they put it onto Sotomayor. And I know because I have been rough righted by Sotomayor several times when it comes to my prior filing efforts. And by and large, I shouldn't be resistant to this, but it's completely unacceptable that I was reading and trying to respond to something that was a criminal proceeding in a criminal situation. And what happened was is I got swapped out so somebody could author an opinion connected to insurance payments. What they've done is they've obstructed investigation and prosecution for actual crimes in order to pay kickbacks as part of a long-term scheme under the auspices of insurance. It was never medical insurance. It was supposed to be cybersecurity. But you intentionally allowed for cybersecurity to be hacked, to be degraded, and to be downgraded so that you could manufacture fraudulent insurance claims. And now they're trying to launder that through something called cyber insurance in order to cover up for completely misguided social engineering paradigms. And part of the way they socially engineer a paradigm is they take somebody's actual contributions that are focused on a particular topic and swap it out with a different demographic experience. And so I actually, at this point, have no reference point for what the judicial acumen of Justice Sotomayor is when it comes to considering criminal charges in connection with racketeering. My vantage points for her have nothing to do with trying to hustle fraudulent insurance claims to cover up for illegal immigrants. That's what they did. Just like they made Justice Thomas nothing more than some sex-crazed black man chasing a white woman through Wilderness Hole. Justice Sotomayor is nothing more than an insurance broker issuing fraudulent claims to cover up for illegal immigrants. And somehow, the justice with an Italian-sounding name, who might actually have literally authored an opinion considering territorial jurisdictional issues, respect for indigenous people, got swapped out because his demographic didn't meet the considerations that they wanted for their presentation in the social engineering paradigm. See, if you're talking about respecting indigenous rights and intentionally misappropriating people's identities in order to try to illegally dispossess them of their land and their property and their culture, and you're trying to do it to manipulate a political agenda to entrain people to complicity with other kinds of criminal activity, including racketeering, those are criminal charges. It's not a civil rights matter. And it shouldn't matter whether your name's Alito or Sotomayor. If you are what America has as its highest standard, when it comes to dealing with matters of justice. Who the fuck thought it was appropriate to swap out an Alito for a Sotomayor just because she looks like an Indian girl? That's exactly what they did that day. And the next day, 8 justices of the Supreme Court signed on to one of the most heinous contracts that's ever happened in America, that, by the way, is also an act of nuclear sabotage. Somehow, my hormones have adjusted, and I think that I'm talking to you now in a much more age-appropriate manner. But it's absolutely disgusting that I'm not allowed to get paid because I won't engage acts of prostitution, and I am absolutely 100% against harvesting teenage hormones in order to sugarcoat this bullshit. Perhaps you will resign and you will join Justice Kennedy in whatever a Supreme Court justice does in their retirement. Maybe you'll be able to do some sort of political advocacy for justices that are forced into retirement as part of a pension scheme just so they can have somebody cancel their benefits from their early retirement because they got strong armed by rackets in other parts of the world. Maybe not. You should be allowed to participate in ordinary political process just like the rest of us, or the rest of them.